This is Audible.
Operation Meet the Parents. Operation HEA Book 2. Written by K.M. Neuhold. Narrated by Nick J. Russo. Chapter 1. Harlow. There's nothing quite like the smell of white chocolate peppermint mocha in the air to really make it feel like Christmas. Of course, it's sunny and 70 degrees out today, which doesn't bother me since I'm from Georgia, but my boyfriend won't stop bitching about the lack of snow. After living in LA for 7 years, you'd think the man would make peace with the weather already. He won't be complaining much longer because by the end of the day, we'll be ballsack deep in a snowbank, and honestly, I'm trying really hard not to think about that part. I have plenty to worry about meeting his family for the first time without also fixating on exactly what it might feel like to die of frostbite or why anyone in their right mind would choose to live somewhere that is clearly only meant for polar bears and penguins. The line shifts forward, and I eye the case of pastries, trying to decide which is more likely to put that sweet smile on Teddy's face that I love so much. I think the blueberry donut is my best bet. Bonus, he'll taste like blueberries every time I kiss him for the rest of the morning. I smile and bounce a little to the pop-like cover of Jingle Bells that's playing through the speakers. The din of the coffee shop is otherwise the same as ever. I spot Tom, the barista, and mentally vow to put an extra tip in the jar again. My conscience is still not totally clear after the whole getting him yelled at incident. Speaking of which, I bite back a dramatic gasp when I realize that the man standing behind me is none other than Mr. Americano. Mr. Yells at Baristas. Mr. Almost the future Mr. Harlow Monroe. Harley. I have to give it to the great and powerful Keanu in the sky. It has a certain kind of theatrical symmetry. Seeing one of my many failed meet-cutes here while I'm picking up breakfast before flying with my super serious live-in boyfriend to his childhood home for Christmas. Did I mention that Teddy and I are totally in love? Like, head over heels, better than any movie moment. Oh my God, how did I ever live without this man? In love? Just thinking the words makes the ring in my pocket feel heavier. I've been carrying it around for a week now, switching it from one pocket to the next, waiting for the perfect moment to ask Teddy the big question. The only question. And I don't mean, what kind of donut do you want to eat off my dick? Eat for breakfast? Although neither option is off the table. We're in love, after all. If you can't eat a donut off the dick of the man you're in love with, what's life all about? Hey, Harlow. Tom greets me when I reach the counter. Hey, Tom. I place my order and then step aside to wait. While I do, I look around at everyone in the cafe, trying to guess what their plans are for the holidays. Anything to keep my mind busy so I don't end up worrying about the thing I have for weeks, the thing that's been keeping me awake ever since we booked our plane tickets to Minnesota. What if Teddy's parents hate me? What if I botch this whole holiday boyfriend thing and he decides his love for me isn't quite as eternal as he keeps promising? Ugh. I groan at myself, reaching into my pocket to pull out my phone. Tom calls my name while I'm listening to the ringing through my phone, and I dart forward to grab my stuff, dodging the curious look from Harley and then heading out of the cafe while artfully juggling all of the things in my hands and managing not to drop the phone in the process. Hey, sunshine. My best friend Marnie greets me cheerfully. Hey, love. How's my niece treating you? I ask. I told you it's too early to tell the sex. It's a girl. I can sense it, I insist. I must have missed the memo on your newfound psychic ability, she teases. Why are you calling me anyway? Aren't you supposed to be on a plane to the North Pole right now? Minnesota, I correct. And yeah, I'm on my way back to the house so we can catch a ride to the airport. I'm freaking out a little bit. About his parents? She guesses. No, guess isn't the right word, considering I've been whining to her about my nerves for the past week and a half. Yes, about his frickin' parents. They're going to hate me. They're from Minnesota. They're probably expecting someone a lot more. I look down at myself and frown. I've never lacked in the self-esteem department, but I'm feeling all kinds of insecure right about now. Not me. Honey buns, listen to me. You are perfect, and that man is beyond crazy about you. Everything is going to be fine. I grumble at her answer, the same one she's been giving me all week. I've seen enough movies with the meet the parents trope to know that this is going to be a complete and utter disaster. I thought we agreed you'd stop taking movies as gospel. I grumble again, unlocking my car and sliding inside. I put my drink tray and pastry bag on the passenger seat and then sink back, tilting my head against the headrest and closing my eyes. My heart is pounding, and my stomach is squirming, but I can't back out of this, which means I'm going to have to suck it up and get my ass on that plane. When we get to Minnesota, I'll be the perfect son-in-law. I'll find the exact right moment to pop the question to Teddy, and we'll have the best Christmas of all time. I can so do this. Don't make any crude jokes, and don't try to cook anything, and I'm sure it'll go fine, Marnie advises. I'll do my best. We wish each other Merry Christmas, even though there's no doubt we'll be talking again before the actual holiday a week from now, and then I head home to my man. Teddy. It takes several tries, but I finally managed to get my suitcase, full of more presents than clothes, to close. It's been too long since I've been home to see the family. My mom actually cried when I told her I was bringing Harlow home for Christmas, and then proceeded to grill me about our relationship. I'm pretty sure I heard my 16-year-old sister shout, "It's about fucking time," in the background during that call, and then was promptly reprimanded by my mother for, and I quote, trucker talk. I smile to myself as I walk over to my dresser and grab the last thing I need to pack. I fiddle with the false bottom on the drawer, trying to find the groove that I can stick my finger in to pry it open. The measure may seem extreme, but Lo has been rummaging through every nook and cranny of our house for weeks, trying to catch early glimpses of his presence. I even tried strategically hiding a few red herrings so he'd think he was done looking. He has not stopped looking. I caught him just this morning taking the lid off the toilet tank to peek inside. I finally get it open and slide my hand inside the crevice until my fingers brush against the velvety box I stashed there almost as soon as we moved in. I have the man, I have the ring. I pop the box open to admire it, gently stroking my index finger over the cool rose gold metal. I just need the perfect proposal. And therein lies the problem. I can't just give him the ring and ask him to marry me. I need to plan the most epic, romantic, movie-worthy proposal that's ever happened. So far, nothing I've thought up comes close to being good enough for him. I booked and canceled a hot air balloon, a horse, and even a skywriter. All of those things were epic enough, but they weren't quite right. I'm starting to worry I'll never find the perfect idea. But I have to. I waited for Lo for 5 years, and I can't stand the thought of not being married to him any longer. I pull my phone out of my pocket and psych myself up to call his best friend, Marnie. We've been playing phone tag for 2 weeks, calling and missing each other. I could text her for advice, but I'd much rather talk. That way, there won't be an incriminating trail of texts for Harlow to find and blow the surprise. The phone rings a few times while I slip the ring box into the front pocket of my bag. "Hello?" she answers. "Marnie, hey, it's Teddy," I say, anxiously pacing, holding the phone in one hand while I drag the other through my hair. "I know. I got that from the numerous voicemails." She doesn't bother to hide her amusement. "What's up?" "I need some advice." "Oh? Do tell." "I'm planning to—" I cut myself off when I hear the front door open. Damn, I've got to go. Lo just got home. Secretive. Marnie sounds delighted at the prospect. "I'll call you later," I say quickly, hanging up the phone just as Harlow walks into the bedroom. Who is that? He asks. When? I ask stupidly, buying time while my brain scrambles for a good lie. On the phone? Just now? He looks at me like I've lost my mind. You hung up super quick. If I was a less secure man, I might think you're cheating on me. I bark out a laugh at the absurd idea, as if there are any men in the world other than Harlow. As if I'd be interested if there were. It's always been Harlow. Always. I reach for him, hooking my fingers in his belt loops and tugging him close. He comes willingly, grinning and wrapping his arms around my neck. You really shouldn't look at me like that when we have a flight to catch, he admonishes lightly, nudging his nose against mine and swaying close so our bodies touch. Like what? I ask, losing myself in a haze of complete and utter adoration. It's impossible not to when I have him in my arms, his scent permeating all of my senses, the warmth of his skin more than enough to get drunk on. Like you're so in love with me you can hardly stand it? You should know by now that I can't help that low. I brace one hand on the back of his neck and pull him even closer, pressing my lips against his and drowning myself in the sweet taste of him. He parts his lips and slips his tongue into my mouth. We both groan, sliding our hot, wet tongues together until we're both hard and panting. Flight, he murmurs against my mouth, and I know he's right, but damn, it's hard to break the kiss. He pulls back and smiles at me with damp lips. Maybe we can join the Mile High Club. I chuckle and reach down to pinch his ass. You're trouble. Guilty, he agrees, disentangling himself from my arms and grabbing his own suitcase off the bed. Our cat Eileen jumps on the bed and plants herself on top of my suitcase in a blatant attempt to keep me from leaving. We gotta go, baby girl, Harlow coos at her, picking her up and kissing the top of her head. Uncle Ezra will take good care of you, though. Make sure to give him extra stinky poops to clean up. I shake my head at his evil suggestion. Since things have gotten serious between Harlow and me, my assistant Ezra has seemed to reach a bit of a truce with him, but the two of them won't be joining each other's fan clubs anytime soon. He sets her back down gently on the bed, and I heave my suitcase onto the floor, careful not to break any of the gifts inside. I have a feeling this is going to be a great week. Christmas in Minnesota. What could be better? And if all goes well, I'll come up with the perfect proposal in no time. Oh, by the way, my mom is going to fly up too. I want our families to mix, and I didn't want her to be alone for the holiday. That works, I agree. Although that means she'll get the guest room, and we'll be stuck cramming into the twin-size bed in my childhood bedroom. Sounds cozy. He winks at me before pulling out his phone and opening the airline app, his face going pale in a second. Fuck, we really do need to get moving if we want to catch our flight. And just like that, we're running out the door to hop into the waiting Uber. I know Harlow is nervous about this week, but I have a smile on my face the entire ride to the airport. My favorite person in the world is meeting my family. What could be better? This is going to be the best Christmas ever. Chapter 2. Harlow. This is going to be the worst Christmas ever. I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but it just feels like a really bad sign that we're not even in Minnesota and shit is already going wrong. I seriously hate running through the airport. I didn't enjoy it the first time. It was just the promise of Teddy at the end of the crowded shoulder-bumping sprint that made it worthwhile. Running through the Denver airport to catch our connecting flight to Minnesota is loads of not fun. We already have a tight turnaround for the flights. Add in a delay in our first flight departing and a last-minute notice that our second flight was moved to a different gate on the absolute opposite side of the airport, and you have the strong possibility that we're about to miss our plane. Teddy's hand is clenched around mine as we navigate through the throngs of people departing for their own holiday adventures. It's just ahead, Teddy says, gesturing to the gate we're headed for. I hate to tell him, but it's already after the departure time. Maybe they held the flight for us, but I'm not holding my breath. But I do my best anyway, picking up my pace and pushing myself the last 100 feet or so, the two of us skidding to a halt in front of the gate. The waiting area is nearly empty, and the door to the tunnel is already closed. "This is our flight," Teddy says breathlessly to the flight attendant who's standing behind the kiosk. She gives us a sympathetic look. "Sorry." "Fuck," I mutter. "Fuck," Teddy echoes. "Let's figure out when the next flight to Minnesota is. Maybe we won't have to wait too long." The flight attendant grimaces. "There's a snowstorm going through the Midwest tonight. That was the last flight out until the morning." "Fantastic," I groan. "I'm guessing that means it'll be impossible to get a hotel room nearby for the night." "Sorry." She gives us one more sympathetic look. I follow Teddy toward the nearest row of chairs so we can figure out what we're going to do. Without even needing to discuss it, we both pull out our phones, and I start to search for nearby hotels while Teddy gets to work booking us on the next possible flight out of here. 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, assuming the snowstorm doesn't force that one to cancel too, he tells me after a few minutes. "I've got some bad news, Teddy Bear. There isn't a hotel with any vacancies within 50 miles. I shove my phone into my pocket and sigh while Teddy puts an arm around my shoulders and glances around the airport terminal. "I guess we're sleeping right here. It's going to be a long night." Teddy. This trip isn't exactly starting off strong. I had hoped we would get in early enough tonight that I could take Harlow for a romantic walk in the snow. Maybe show him around my hometown a little, like he did when I went with him to Georgia. Instead, we're spending the first night of our vacation planning to sleep at the airport. Harlow's trying to keep a positive attitude, but the tight lines on his face and occasional under-his-breath grumbling is a dead giveaway that he's feeling stressed and irritated. I can't do anything about getting us out of here any quicker, but I'm sure I can find a few ways to cheer him up. "Stay here. I'm going to stretch my legs," I tell him, leaning over and pressing a kiss to his cheek. "Bring back chocolate." "Will do." I wander toward the area that's full of shops and restaurants, running my mind through all the possible ways to make this better for him. At one of the duty-free shops, I spot a travel pillow, and it occurs to me we're going to need some supplies to get through tonight. That's when a light bulb goes off, and I know exactly how I'm going to salvage this evening. It takes me nearly half an hour and 3 different shops to gather everything I need to execute my plan. When I return to Harlow, my arms weighed down with bags, he slumped in his chair texting. No doubt with Marnie, who hopefully isn't telling him that I called her earlier and then hung up as soon as Lo got home. I lean over the chair from behind, putting my lips right next to his ear. Bless him, he doesn't even startle, just leans into me. "I have a small surprise for you," I say, nipping at his ear and delighting in the little shiver that runs through him. "Is it your dick?" "My dick is neither small nor a surprise at this point, honey." He grins at the word honey. I've never been one for cutesy endearments, so I use them sparingly, but when I do, they're always a guaranteed way to light him up. "Good point. What's the surprise then?" He twists around in his seat, trying to see what I have in my hands. "Come with me." I straighten up and tilt my head in the direction of a terminal that looked empty when I passed it. It must be one that won't have any more flights out today, which is perfect for what I have in mind. Harlow follows me, trying to peek into the bags as we walk. I don't really care if he sees what's in them, but it's more fun to tease him, so I jerk them out of his reach every time he tries to get a hand inside. When I find a suitable spot, I stop in my tracks, chuckling as Lo barrels right into me, clearly too preoccupied with the bags to pay attention to anything else. "We're here," I announce, setting down all but one of the bags. "Where?" He looks around at the deserted terminal. A janitor pushes a squeaky mop bucket past, but aside from that, there doesn't seem to be anyone in sight. At our special distraction date. I reach inside the one bag I'm still holding, pull out the blanket I just bought, and lay it out on the floor. Then I pick up one of the other bags and start to remove ridiculously overpriced sandwiches and snacks. There's chocolate, of course, as well as a bottle of the most expensive cheap wine I've ever purchased in my life. "It's a picnic?" he guesses, and I nod. "Do you have a picnic playlist, or are we going to have to wing this one?" I tease, taking off my shoes and sitting down on the blanket. Harlow follows suit, pulling out his phone and pressing a few buttons until some relaxing, faintly romantic music starts to play through the speakers. "You know I have a playlist for everything." I didn't doubt it for a second, I assure him with a laugh. We both dig into our food. I pour the wine into mile-high city mugs and pass one of them to Harlow. We eat and sip our wine, laughing and talking, forgetting for a few minutes that it's a week before Christmas and we're stuck in an airport overnight. I lean forward and brush my lips against his. He responds immediately, his mouth softening under mine and his lips parting. His mouth is sweet from the wine, tasting like comfort and sex and forever, tasting like Harlow. Butterflies flutter in my stomach. Even if this is our millionth kiss, it still somehow feels like the first. "I love you," Harlow murmurs against my lips. For one crazy moment, I wish I had the ring on me right now so I could ask him. It's not a perfect movie moment proposal, but it would be romantic in its own way, in a very us way. My heart beats faster, and I can't take my eyes off him, wondering if I should go ahead and ask anyway, even without the ring. I pull back and look into his eyes, the words on the tip of my tongue. But I can't bring myself to do it. Not like this, not without fireworks, backup dancers, and fuck knows what else Lowe needs to make it the absolute ideal proposal. "You got quiet all of a sudden," Harlow notices, licking his lips and then reaching for his mug of wine, finishing it off with a long swig. I don't know what to say, so I just hum in response, my phone now heavy in my pocket. I need to call Marnie back and get her advice to help me plan the proposal that Harlow deserves. I need to make a call really quick. I jump up, ignoring Harlow's confused expression as I slip away and dial Marnie. The phone rings a few times before she answers. "Hello?" "Marnie, it's Teddy again." "I know. I heard y'all are stuck at the airport." "Unfortunately. But listen, I need your advice on something." I pace in front of an empty seating area. I can still see Harlow in the distance, folding up the blanket and shooting me curious looks every so often. I feel like an ass for jumping up like that, but I'll make it up to him. "I'm planning to propose." Her squeal of excitement is so loud I have to pull the phone away from my ear to save my eardrum. "Oh my God, this is so exciting! When are you going to ask? How are you going to ask? Do you have a ring for him, or is that just a girl thing?" "I have a ring. The when and how are kind of what I wanted your advice about," I explain, keeping my voice low so it doesn't travel through the empty terminal. Harlow pulls out his phone and brings it to his ear. Fuck. He's probably calling Marnie to tell her I'm being an ass. "Oh, dang, Harlow is calling me," she says a few seconds later. Do I know my low or what? "Okay," I say with a sigh. "I'll think about some ideas and I'll text you." "No," I say quickly. "I don't want him to see any texts about it. Call me when you can." "Got it," she agrees. Harlow seems to give up on the call, frowning and shoving his phone back into his pocket. "Talk to you later." "Bye, and congratulations." Marnie's end of the phone goes silent, and I press the button to end the call. "Who are you talking to?" Harlow asks, eyeing me suspiciously when I walk back over to him and gather up all of the leftover garbage. I still have another couple of surprises for him to smooth things over, so instead of lying to him, I open the last bag and produce a cute rainbow teddy bear and a travel pillow. "These are for you," I offer with a wry grin. He narrows his eyes at me, so I pull out the big guns. "Want a blowjob in the bathroom?" Bingo. Harlow's wariness fades immediately. He reaches for my hand. I'm still annoyed at you, but yes, he agrees, dragging me toward the nearest bathroom with as much subtlety as much subtlety as Harlow ever has. Luckily, the bathroom is as empty as the terminal. Everyone else must be flocking to the hotel rooms they managed to book before we could snag one. As much as I don't relish spending the night at the airport, as long as Lowe is next to me, I don't really mind. He grabs the front of my shirt in his fist, a playful smile dancing over his face. It's such a beautiful expression that I can't resist kissing him again just to taste the happiness on his lips. He kisses me right back, teasing his tongue against mine as he drags me into the largest bathroom stall. As soon as I kick the door closed behind me, Harlow pushes me up against it, shoving my shirt up and teasing my stomach with his fingers. I deepen the kiss, sliding my hands down to his ass and grabbing it to haul him closer until his body is pressed against mine, our hard cocks lining up. He wraps his arms around my neck, dragging his fingers through the hair on the back of my neck, sending shivers down my spine. I promised him a blowjob, but he reaches down and unzips my jeans, and then his own. I grunt and pant into his mouth, sucking his tongue and kissing him harder as he reaches inside my jeans and brushes the tips of his fingers along the head of my cock. With his jeans unbuttoned, they're loose enough for me to readjust my grip, slipping my hands down the back of them to cup his bare ass cheeks. I wonder if he still has a little bruise from where I playfully bit his left cheek the other night. He squealed so loudly that it took a solid few minutes before I managed to stop laughing long enough to get back to the main event. Not that either of us was complaining. I've been in love with Harlow for years and lost track of the number of filthy, sweaty, cum-filled fantasies I had about him in that time. Now that I have him, really have him, the sex is phenomenal, but laughing in bed is somehow even better. With every drag of his tongue against mine, my cock swells harder, and my heart gets even fuller until I'm not sure how it can even keep beating with all of the love it has to hold inside. I am so utterly in love with you, I murmur against his mouth. Harlow groans, thrusting against me. Fuck, that's even better than dirty talk. He nips at my bottom lip and then swipes his tongue along it to soothe the sting. He works his hand up and down my shaft, stroking me exactly the way he knows I like, coaxing droplets of pre-cum from my slit and igniting heat in the pit of my stomach. Harlow tilts his head to one side, inviting me to kiss along his neck. I nuzzle his warm skin, peppering kisses down the column of his throat, along his pulse point, and then back up again until I reach the curve of his jaw. He twists his wrist, dragging a deep, reverberating groan from low in my gut as my balls tighten. I bite down on the sensitive patch of skin just below his jaw, drawling gasping sounds from him as I suck hard and then press another gentle kiss there. You drive me so fucking crazy, he groans, thrusting against me faster, making the door we're leaning against rattle. I'm desperate to feel him against me, to have his cock swell and pulse against mine when he comes. I pry my hands off his ass and clumsily shove his jeans down, just enough for his cock to spring free between us. He does the same, pausing his strokes to push my jeans lower. This time, when I grab his ass to pull him against me, we both moan at the feeling of our hot, hard cocks grinding together. Harlow's lips find mine again, our kiss rough and bruising, and somehow tender all at once. We both whisper sweet and filthy words between kisses, while I use my grip on his ass to hump against him, his cock catching on the ridge of my head over and over, our pre-cum mixing and slicking us enough to ease the friction. Teddy! He gasps my name, our foreheads and noses bumping, the smell of sweat and sex filling the air. Harlow reaches between us, taking both of our cocks in one hand and furiously jerking us together until he cries out and starts to pulse ropes of hot, thick cum all over me. It trickles down my length. The wet, sloppy sound of his hand on our cum-coated cocks makes my balls constrict and the heat in my stomach ratchet higher until I'm growling against his lips and adding my own release to the mess we've made. His strokes slow, coaxing the last drops of cum from both of us. I sag against the stall door, surprised we didn't rock it right off its hinges, and shocked that security didn't hear the noises we were making in here and burst in to arrest us. Harlow leans into me, trusting me to hold him up. He lets out a content sigh, then his eyes meet mine, and we both start to laugh. I'm not sure why. There's nothing particularly funny about this moment, but I laugh right along with him anyway. Our bodies move against each other with the amusement and joy that pours from us until we're as worn out from that as we are from all of the grinding and coming. Let's get cleaned up, Harlow suggests, wiggling against me so I'll release him. I press one last kiss against his cheek before I let him go. Then we can find a good spot to get settled, connect to the Wi-Fi, and stream some movies. Last Christmas? He asks hopefully. He's been on a holiday rom-com kick lately, so I'm not surprised he picked that one. Nah, let's watch It's a Wonderful Life, I tease, grinning at the way his nose wrinkles with distaste before he realizes it's a joke. Yep, I'll happily be anywhere as long as I have Harlow by my side. Chapter 3. Harlow. Can you check again? I ask desperately. This has to be a prank show or something, because there is no way the airline lost my suitcase. That is a reality I simply can't accept. I've been wearing these same clothes for the last 24 hours. I slept in them and I haven't showered. I have to have my clothes. Oh my God, my body butter is in that bag. That shit costs $100 a jar. It's my one indulgence. I'm sorry, sir. It looks like it was accidentally put on a flight to Florida. We should be able to get it here in a day or two. A day or two? I repeat weakly. A day or two? Teddy puts an arm around my shoulders, whether to comfort me or keep me from launching myself over the counter and strangling the airline worker with my bare hands. I'm not entirely sure. It'll be okay, he promises. You can wear my little sister's pants until your suitcase gets here. You are so not funny right now, I grumble, letting him pull me close and burying my face in his chest. I'm sorry. He kisses the top of my head. Why don't we go out to where my mom is waiting to pick us up, and we'll have her stop at Walmart on the way back to the house? I make a strangled sound. I might actually be better off wearing his sister's clothes after all. This isn't how I wanted to meet his parents for the first time. Sleep-deprived and unshowered? Now I won't even have nice clothes to change into. At least the ring I got for Teddy is still in my pocket. If I had packed it, I really might have to murder the poor innocent airline employee who had the displeasure of informing me that my suitcase was misplaced. Let's go, I agree, squeezing him tight once more and absorbing all of the comfort I can from his large, familiar body before letting him go. I promise this will all be fine, he says, keeping one hand on the back of my neck as we make our way through baggage claim to the exit doors. I thought I was prepared for the cold, but as soon as we step outside, the frigid air hits me like a punch straight to the gut, stealing my breath and freezing me from the inside out. Is it possible to get instantaneous frostbite? It feels super possible right now. Holy fuck, I gasp, burrowing closer to Teddy, who just chuckles and wraps an arm around me. I told you to let me buy you a coat, he grumbles, setting down his suitcase and shrugging his giant fluffy parka off. All the coats you showed me were ugly, I complain, taking his coat when he hands it to me and putting it on in a hurry. Teddy shivers a bit but doesn't seem entirely bothered by the subarctic temperatures. There's my mom. He points toward a rusty blue minivan that looks like it has seen better days, and then grabs my hand and picks his suitcase back up. As we get closer to the van, I notice a sticker in the window that says, Hockey Mom. Either she's extremely proud of Teddy, who could blame her, or she's had this van for decades. Of course, it's possible both are true. Teddy opens the back door for me, letting me climb inside and then setting his suitcase on the floor before climbing into the front seat. "Denver Theodore Mullins, where in the Lord's name is your coat?" his mom admonishes immediately. I shrink in my seat, wondering if there's a way I can give Teddy his coat back without his mom noticing. We could pretend he's been wearing it the whole time. "Hello to you too, Mom," he responds dryly, leaning over and kissing her cheek. "Hello, of course. I just can't believe you'd be walking around without a coat when it's below 0 outside." I shift awkwardly in my seat. Should I interrupt her lecture to introduce myself? It's weird that she didn't say hi first, right? Or am I being self-absorbed? I shoot a look at Teddy, who gives me a reassuring wink and then puts a hand on his mom's shoulder, cutting off her rant about frostbite. "Mom, I want you to meet Harlow." I sit up straighter, putting on my best smile and extending my hand. But she doesn't turn around like I expect her to. Instead, she glances in the rearview mirror at me, the lines around her eyes tightening as she studies me silently. "Hello." Her tone isn't unpleasant exactly, but it's not radiating sunshine and rainbows either. I drop my hand and sit back, darting another glance toward Teddy, who doesn't seem the least bit concerned about the interaction. Maybe she's just one of those people who gets crabby at the airport. I'm sure she'll give me a hug and a proper greeting once we're at the house. "We need to stop at the store really quick. The airline misplaced Lowe's luggage." "It's okay," I rush to say. "You need clothes," he points out. "I'll be fine. I'll wear yours." The last thing I want to do is put his mom out anymore. I need to get on her good side, not give her extra errands to do. "You'll be swimming in my clothes." "It's fine," I insist. He looks back, and I give him a pleading look to just drop it. Maybe we can borrow a car and go later. "Of course we'll get you some clothes," his mom says, and I snap my mouth shut. I guess we're going to Walmart. Teddy. Harlow clutches the bag full of Walmart clothes bravely, the smile on his face clearly forced as he nods along with my mother's assessment that Walmart clothes are just as good as the name brand stuff people waste money on. I'm sure deep down he doesn't disagree. Clothes are clothes, and there's nothing wrong with shopping at a big box store. But he's Harlow, and his designer jeans give him life. I grab his hand as soon as he climbs out of the back of the van, squeezing my fingers around his. "We're going to get your suitcase back as soon as possible," I promise, bringing our linked hands to my lips and kissing his knuckles. A small amount of the tension in his expression eases, his other hand moving toward his pocket. He pats it absently, and his smile turns more genuine. "It'll be fine," he agrees. "Do you think I can take a shower?" I'm about to tell him that not only can he have a shower, but he can take a nap too while I help my mom make lunch. But she jumps in before I can. "It'll have to be quick. We need to go chop down the Christmas tree today." I light up at the reminder of our family tradition of chopping down our own tree, Griswold style. "I'll take you up to my room. We can put our stuff down and you can shower," I suggest. Harlow nods, and I lead him inside. As soon as we're through the front door, a wave of nostalgia hits me. My mom went all out, decorating the banister with garland, hanging lights around the doorways, her Santa figurine collection covering nearly every surface. The smell of cinnamon, gingerbread, and apple cider permeates the air. The pine scent of the tree later tonight will complete the collection of holiday scents. In an instant, I'm 8 years old again, nearly bouncing with the Christmas spirit. "This is so great," I say, removing my snowy boots and placing them on the mat next to the front door. Harlow does the same, looking around the entryway and into the living room thoughtfully. "These Christmas decorations are straight out of a movie," he says quietly, which is basically the highest compliment he can give anything. "Come on, let's get you that shower." I put a hand on Harlow's back and guide him up the stairs to my bedroom, my suitcase in my free hand, sentimentality washing over me with every step. It feels like it's been an entire lifetime since I've been home. The last time I was here was actually shortly after my breakup with the ex. I just met Harlow at the time, and I had no idea I was already falling in love with him in dribs and drabs until the dam broke and the feeling washed over me full force. I remember that Christmas, stepping into the same bedroom and flopping down onto my bed with a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, sure that I should get used to being alone. If only I could go back in time and assure past Teddy that his forever was just around the corner. On the other hand, sometimes the surprise is half the fun. Oh my God, I feel like I'm in a time portal. Harlow laughs out loud, dropping his shopping bags and looking around my bedroom greedily. My parents haven't changed a thing since I moved out, which means it's basically a time capsule of my teen years. There's a poster of some sweaty soccer player over my bed that Harlow snorts at. What? I'm a huge fan of the MNUFC. I read off the initials on the man's uniform. Uh-huh. What does the MNUFC stand for? He challenges. Minnesota Unstoppable Fucking Chipmunks. Low cackles. I like it. He nods approvingly before helping himself to my dresser drawers, pulling open one and then the next, rifling through the contents that have been left behind from years past. What are you looking for? Sex toys, he answers simply, and I bark out a laugh. You think I have a drawer full of sex toys at my parents' house? I arch an eyebrow at him. He yanks open the bottom drawer and makes an excited sound, reaching inside and pulling out a black cylindrical object. Jackpot, he crows, brandishing the 15-year-old flesh jack around happily. Shit. I jump up and quickly close my bedroom door as gently as possible so the sound doesn't draw attention. I forgot I had that. He puts his middle and pointer fingers together, bringing them to his mouth and licking them obscenely. My cock jerks, swelling and pressing against the zipper of my jeans. Lo, I say hoarsely. He chuckles, bringing his damp, glistening fingers to the pucker of the toy and circling them around the hole suggestively. We should bring this home to play with. I nod weakly, swallowing around the sudden dryness in my throat. He grins at me again, stepping around me toward my suitcase, now resting on the bed that looks much smaller than I remember it being. It's not until Harlow reaches for the zipper on my suitcase that I realize what he's doing. I can't remember if I put the ring into the front zipper area or in the main part of the suitcase, so I hurry to snag him around the waist before he can get it open. Whoa, don't do that. I swing him into my arms and move him away from my bag. What the hell? He complains when I set him back on his feet, my body firmly between Harlow and my suitcase. He narrows his eyes at me. Why are you being weird? There are presents in there. Presents I helped wrap, he points out. Unless... Are my presents in there too? His whole face lights up. I knew that the pride flag for my office wasn't my only present. Shit. That might have been a worse tactic than outright lying about why I didn't want him to touch my suitcase. Now I'm going to have to watch him all week like a puppy in the pantry. Better yet, once he goes to take a shower, I'll put the ring in my pocket, where I'll be able to keep it safe until I figure out this damn proposal. Go take a shower, I say, snatching the flesh jack from him. He sticks out his bottom lip in an exaggerated pout. What if we do a 7 days of Christmas thing, and you let me open one of my presents right now? Low bargains. I grab the front of his shirt and drag him in for a kiss. His enthusiasm is infectious. I've always liked Christmas just fine, but it's so much more fun with all of his childlike glee about the presents. He melts into the kiss, parting his lips and meeting my tongue with his. Go take a shower, I say again when we break the kiss, giving him a playful swat on the ass. Fine, he agrees with a sigh. I toss the flesh jack onto the bed for the time being, and Harlow steps up next to me, eyeing the bed too, clearly noticing at the same time just how small it is. We'll figure it out, I assure him, kissing his temple. I don't mind getting nice and cozy with you, teddy bear. I smile. I know you don't. Harlow stoops down to rifle through the Walmart bags, pulling out a handful of clothes and some travel toiletries. How he'll survive for a few days without his body butter is beyond me, but we're both going to have to pray for a Christmas miracle. So, when your mom says chop down the Christmas tree, that's just an expression, right? He asks nervously. Chapter 4. Harlow. Have a holly jolly Christmas, I sing to myself as I soap up my hair with the best shampoo I could buy at Walmart, which is sadly still woefully short of the ridiculous stuff I shell out for back home. But I'm going to keep a positive attitude. I am. I may have lost my suitcase, but at least I still have the engagement ring. Teddy's mom may not seem crazy about me just yet, but I'm going to turn her around and convince her that I'm the best thing that ever happened to her son. I'm fairly certain that chopping down a tree will kill me, but I'm going to try, damn it. It's Christmas, and Teddy deserves for it to be the best holiday of his life. I saw the look of childlike awe on his face when we stepped inside and he was hit with all of the Christmassy feels. I love that man with every breath in my body, and I'm not going to let a little lost luggage and a cold shoulder from his mom get in the way of making this Christmas perfect for him. I hop out of the shower and get dressed, and then Teddy corrals me to the front hall where his sister is already waiting, all bundled up and smiling as widely as he is. Hello, this is my sister, Chelsea. Chelsea? Harlow. She gives me a big smile, looking my outfit up and down happily. I love your boots. Thank you. I strike a little pose with them. It truly is a Christmas miracle that I decided to wear these boots onto the plane yesterday morning rather than packing them. I would have a much worse attitude about the lost luggage situation if I didn't have the boots I spent months shopping for. Do you know how hard you have to look to find men's boots that are both fashionable and completely inappropriate for the weather? Teddy teases, dodging the elbow I try to hit him with. Chelsea snickers. Jim, do you have the axe? Their mom calls from upstairs. A fresh wave of concern washes over me. So we're like chopping down a tree? I clarify for a second time, hoping that at any second they're going to say, psych, and we'll all get in the car to go to a tree lot where all of the trees are pre-chopped and ready to go. Teddy flings an arm around my shoulders. Yes, we're chopping down a tree. Right near the car, though, right? I check, and the two of them exchange an extremely ominous look. Right? I try again, keeping my tone as cheerful as possible, even as the concern starts to seep in. Are we going to end up walking miles through the snow in search of the perfect tree? Teddy is right. These boots aren't actually meant to protect me from the snow or cold, really any elements at all. It's fun, Chelsea says with a forced smile, while Teddy puts an arm around my shoulders. I'll keep you warm, he promises, and it doesn't escape my attention that neither of them actually answered the question. A man appears from the hallway, dressed like an older, lumberjackier version of Teddy, wearing a blue knit cap tugged over his head, hints of gray and brown hair peeking out from underneath, a matching full bushy beard, and an honest-to-God flannel shirt. The look is completed by the axe resting over his shoulder. I'm assuming this is Teddy's dad, and damn, Teddy is going to age nicely. I've got the axe, he calls, and then gives me a smile. You must be the boyfriend we've heard absolutely nothing about. I've told you about Harlow, Teddy argues, looking affronted as I give him an arched eyebrow. He isn't talking about me to his family? Insecurity squirms in my gut. I know he loves me, but is he embarrassed by me? As his mom descends the stairs, dressed like Mrs. Lumberjack, it becomes patently obvious I don't really fit in with his salt-of-the-earth, outdoorsy Midwest family. His mom pauses, her eyes sweeping over me. Is that what you're wearing, hun? I glanced down at myself. It's not like I have many choices, but I'm not used to feeling like a fashion don't. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend the experience. Mom, Teddy says sharply. I'm sure he'll be fine, she says, smiling stiffly. Great. We've been here an hour, and his mom already hates me. I lean into Teddy, seeking some small comfort, and he tightens his arm around me instinctively, easing some of the tightness in my chest. This is going to be fine. I'm going to win his mom over and prove I do fit in with his family, and I'm going to start by chopping down a damn tree. Teddy. So you make movies? Chelsea looks at Lo as if he's the most interesting person alive, which, fair enough, he kind of is. Not that I'm biased or anything. He's sandwiched between the two of us in the back seat of the minivan that's somehow been on its last leg for at least a decade now and still manages to run. In the front, my parents are singing along to a Christmas station, really leaning into the Griswold Christmas vibe. Harlow blushes at the question, fiddling with the zipper on the coat I lent him. Kind of. Right now, I mostly get lunches and arrange schedules. He's selling himself short. I jump in to interrupt, leaning around him to really get into full-on brag mode. He is the assistant to the director, and he does pretty much everything. He keeps things in order and makes sure scenes are set up correctly. He sets call schedules, and he's even writing a script of his own that's amazing. You haven't even read it, he mumbles, even as a pleased smile creeps onto his lips, and he leans into me just a bit more. It's amazing, I say resolutely, kissing the side of his head. You want to be a director? My mom asks, her tone tight, as if Harlow just announced he wants to start his own cult. Yeah, eventually. And I want to be a screenwriter, obviously. He stammers his response, glancing over at me as if he's checking it was okay. I shrug. I'm not really sure what has my mom feeling so hostile today. But whatever it is, I hope she gets over it before the end of the week, so Lo can get to know the warm, wonderful woman who raised me to be the man I am. My mom makes a disapproving noise. It's all a little shallow, isn't it? Have you thought about doing anything else? He looks at me again, and I take it upon myself to save him. Mom, making movies isn't shallow, and Harlow's really talented. She catches my eyes through the rearview mirror, and I shoot her a bewildered look. Well, I think it's cool, Chelsea declares. So, do you know casting directors and stuff? Chelsea, my mom and I scold at the same time, and Harlow laughs. I do, but why don't you come talk to me about it after college? Deal, she agrees. A few minutes later, we park at the cut-your-own-tree lot that we've been coming to every year for as long as I can remember. A wistful feeling washes over me, and I reach for Harlow's hand. My fingers twitch toward my pocket, where I stashed the engagement ring while he took his shower so he wouldn't stumble on it. Would it be romantic enough to get down on one knee here in the snow, with all the twinkling lights and Christmas spirits surrounding us? A lump forms in my throat, my grip tightening around the smooth metal of the ring. Any day now, Danny, my sister says impatiently, using the nickname she's had for me since she was a toddler and couldn't properly say Denver. She waves at the one working back door of the van, which just happens to be on the side I'm blocking while I daydream about popping the question. I told you I prefer Teddy, I grumble, unbuckling and yanking open the door to climb out. Fuck, it's cold, Harlow gasps as soon as he steps outside, immediately wrapping his arms around himself, his cheeks and nose pinking, his breath crystallizing and hanging in the air in front of his face with each puff. Language, Chelsea teases, and my mom hums in agreement. His cheeks turn an even brighter shade of pink. Sorry, I'm just not used to it being this cold. It won't be so bad once you get used to it, my dad assures him, pulling on his own gloves and grabbing the axe and sled out of the trunk. We learned years ago that it's much easier to get a tree back up to the car if we bring a little wooden sled with us rather than trying to carry it. He means once the hypothermia sets in and you go numb, Chelsea says cheerfully. I give her a desperate look not to make things worse, but she just giggles shamelessly at the look of horror on Lo's face. She's teasing, I lie. It's not like he's going to actually die from hypothermia. He'll be fine. I put an arm around him to stave off some of the cold and then jerk my head in the direction of the small forest. One thing I always manage to block out about our Christmas tree tradition is just how picky my mom is about her choice of trees. What's wrong with this one? My dad asks, the slightest edge of irritation in his voice. The branches are too sparse on that side. She points at a spot that looks plentiful to me, but what do I know? Harlow shivers against me, tucking himself as close as he can and bouncing just a little to keep himself warm. I run my hand up and down his arm. Damn, this is definitely not the romantic moment I was hoping for. What about that one? I point at another random tree, hoping to get this process over with so I can get Lo back into the warm car. It's too tall. It would hardly fit in the entryway, let alone the living room. I huff. Mom, come look at this one. It's perfect, Chelsea calls from a few rows over. We all trudge in the direction of her voice, the snow crunching under our boots. This one looks perfect, my mom says approvingly. Thank Keanu Reeves for that. I swear I hear Harlow breathe a sigh of relief as well, even though he hasn't uttered a single complaint since getting out of the car. It's gorgeous, he agrees, unable to hide the chattering of his teeth. I double my efforts to keep him warm, taking one of his hands between mine and bringing it to my mouth to breathe on it. He hums happily, and I give the same treatment to the other. My dad and I take turns with the axe, hacking into the trunk bit by bit. In spite of the cold, sweat forms on my brow, my muscles straining with each swing. I pause to wipe the sweat off my forehead and glance over my shoulder to find Lo watching me with a heated expression. I shoot him a wink, and he playfully fans himself. Fuck, I love him. Chapter 5. Harlow. I truly had no idea this level of freezing existed. I'm almost afraid to take my boots off, just in case all my toes crack off along with them. Please, great and powerful Keanu, spare me my toes. I beg of you. Here you go. Teddy hurries over to me with a steaming mug of cocoa, complete with multicolored mini marshmallows. Fuck it. Who needs toes anyway, when I have a swoony, hot cocoa-delivering man in my life? Thank you, I say sweetly, tilting my face up for a kiss, which he happily brushes over my lips. My stomach flutters, the brief touch of his mouth to mine more than enough to chase away every ounce of cold I brought with me from outside. A little help here? Teddy's dad calls frantically. Oh shit. Teddy mutters, straightening up and hurrying over to help his dad with the Christmas tree. I have to give it to his mom. She may have been a total tree diva, but she picked a nice one. It's full in all the right places and instantly fills the living room with a fresh pine scent. My mom and I always went the fake tree route, my mom insisting it was a waste to spend all that money on a real tree that can only be used once. I tend to agree, but I have to admit there's a certain ambience to the real thing. Is it straight? Teddy asks, while on his hands and knees under the tree, trying to steady it, while his dad screws the base into the trunk. I cock my head, trying not to giggle at the extreme tilt of the tree. It's about as straight as I am, babe, I answer, and both he and his dad start laughing. To the left or right? He asks once the laughter subsides. Left, I answer, and he grunts, forcing the tree straighter. Perfect. It takes another minute or two of the two of them fiddling under the tree before they both get up. Teddy wipes his hands on his sweatshirt, and they take a step back to admire their work. Oh, look at that! It's absolutely perfect, his mom declares, entering the room, now changed out of her outdoorsy clothes in favor of the most amazing 50s-style dress I've ever seen, complete with frilly apron. The ghost of Donna Reed is hella jealous right now. "Mrs. Mullins, I love your dress," I gush. She glances in my direction, her sour expression slipping momentarily. "Thank you." She smooths her hands over the front of her outfit and clears her throat. "I was about to start baking some cookies. Would you like to help?" The offer seems reluctant, but it's the perfect opportunity for me to get her one-on-one and see if I can win her over. "I'd love to." I hop off the chair, my hot cocoa dangerously sloshing in my cup, considering the pristine white carpet. "Hello?" Teddy says cautiously. "Are you sure?" "Yes," I rush to answer. "I love baking cookies." I shoot him a look to zip it. I need to charm the pants off of his mom, and really, how hard can it be to bake some cookies? I mean, you just, you make the dough, or, cut up the tube stuff. Whatever, I'll figure it out, and then I'll be able to show Teddy's mom that I am good enough for him. Operation Win Over Teddy's Mom is officially underway. The kitchen is just as perfectly decorated as the rest of the house, with garlands strung up around the ceiling lights, pretty green and red candles flickering, and Mariah belting out some Christmas classics through the smart speaker. The island is strewn with bowls, cookie cutters, and ingredients. Cookies from scratch. I've totally got this. So, Mrs. Mullins, you did a beautiful job decorating the house, I say, grabbing one of the empty mixing bowls and a measuring cup. I probably need, sugar, right? I pick up the bag of powdered sugar and dump some into the bowl. Her lips twitch in a near smile as she watches me fumble for a bag of flour, snatching it out of my hands before I can do the same as I did with the powdered sugar and just sort of blindly dump it in until it looks right. Not that I know how cookie dough is supposed to look. "Thank you. I may have gone a little overboard when Denver called to say he would be home for the holidays." "He prefers Teddy," I say gently, dragging my index finger through some of the powdered sugar I spilled on the counter, absently drawing a little snowman. I know she's his mother and all, and it's not as serious as a dead name or anything, but a preferred name is a preferred name if you ask me. She frowns. Sigh. One step forward, two steps back. The ring in my pocket suddenly feels heavy. What if I can't win over his mom? Will that be a deal breaker for him? When I can no longer take the extreme discomfort of the silence resounding between us, I pull out my phone and Google sugar cookie recipes, putting my energy into not fucking this up. That's a thing that wins moms over, right? Perfect sugar cookies? That has the ring of a perfect Christmas tale. People brought together by the most delicious cookies anyone has ever tasted. It can't hurt, anyway. I continue to attempt stilted conversation while carefully measuring ingredients, reading and rereading the instructions slowly as I go. It's painful, but when I'm finished, the dough actually looks exactly like the picture. I knew it. I do have a little Gordon Ramsay in me. I just needed the proper motivation. "Do you like movies?" I ask, rolling out the doughy masterpiece I've created and then going to town with the cookie cutters. "I prefer books," she answers. Okay, then. I keep my smile firmly in place. This isn't just about Teddy now. I mean, it is, but I'm likable, damn it, and I'm going to win this woman over. "Oh? What's your favorite book?" Before she can answer, if she was even planning to, Teddy slips into the kitchen, stopping to give the scraggly little gray schnauzer Pepper ear scritches while she eagerly watches the cookie process, no doubt hoping we'll drop a whole tray for her. I wonder if his mom would mind if I whipped up a few doggy cookies. I'm sure I could find a recipe just like I did for the sugar cookies. He straightens up and comes to stand by me, looking thoroughly shocked at the cookies lining my pan. Wow, these look normal. "The word you're looking for is glorious," I correct with a smirk. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We haven't tasted them yet," he points out with a grin, brushing a kiss to my cheek. "Ye of little faith," I tisk, shaking my head. I take my full tray to the oven and slide it inside. As I'm straightening back up, my phone starts to ring in my pocket. I pull it out to see Marnie's name lighting up the screen. I look between my phone and Teddy's mom, tugging my bottom lip between my teeth and worrying it. Is it rude to take this? Who would want to interrupt this wonderful conversation we're having after all? Go, Teddy says, bumping his shoulder against mine. I give him a grateful smile and slip out of the kitchen and into the empty hallway to answer the call. Teddy. As soon as Lo is out of the kitchen, my stomach ties itself into a nervous knot. I figured it would be good to have a minute to talk to my mom alone, but now that I'm thinking about it, Marnie wouldn't tell him about the proposal, would she? She hasn't yet, but that's no guarantee. Can you pass me that rolling pin? My mom asks, drawing my attention away from the hallway and back to her. I can't do anything to stop Marnie, so I just have to hope for the best. I grab the rolling pin off the counter and pass it over to her, and then take a step back and lean against the opposite counter. A feeling of nostalgia washes over me, watching her roll out the dough. She pushes the container full of cookie cutters of all shapes, pine trees, circles for ornaments, angels, snowflakes, in my direction. I pick out a few and move next to her to start cutting out cookies. So, I clear my throat. What do you think of Lo? I don't know, sweetie. He seems vibrant. I frown. Vibrant? What does that mean? You don't like him? I attempt to decipher that cryptic comment. I don't even know him. I huff through my nose with annoyance. I'm planning to propose to him. She nearly drops the tray of cookies. I catch it just in time and set it gently back onto the counter, angling myself to face her. Isn't that a bit quick? What's the rush? I've been in love with him for 5 years. Why wait any longer when I already know he's the one? I counter, a smile tugging at my lips in spite of my frustration at my mom's lack of enthusiasm. I don't know the perfect way to propose yet, and I don't know exactly what the rest of our lives will look like, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that I want Harlow to be my husband, preferably as soon as possible. My mom sighs, and then forces a smile of her own, reaching over to pat my cheek. I just want you to be happy, She pauses and clears her throat. Teddy? Shock ripples through me. I spent my teen years begging her to just let me go by Teddy, but she stubbornly insisted that she put a lot of thought into my name and wouldn't call me anything but Denver. Once the surprise wears off, I drag my attention back to the conversation at hand. Lo makes me happy. He made you give up that job in New York, she reminds me. He didn't make me do anything, and it didn't really feel like I was giving anything up. I wanted him. He's all that matters. My mom opens her mouth, whether to apologize for her assumptions or to continue her fruitless attempt to convince me Harlow isn't the one. I don't get a chance to find out. We're interrupted by the strong smell of something burning, followed quickly by the shrill blare of the smoke alarm. Shit, 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 Lo mutters, sprinting back into the kitchen and flinging the oven open. He pulls out the pan of charred cookies, and his shoulders slump. So much for my perfect cookies. Set those down. Once they're cool, we'll scrape them into the trash, I tell him, rolling up my sleeves and grabbing the dirty mixing bowl he used before. Come on, let's make a fresh batch together, and this time we'll set a timer. I give him a pointed look, and he rolls his eyes. Fine, but I get to sing along with the Christmas music while we make them, he bargains. Deal, I agree with a grin, as if I expected anything less. The second batch comes out perfectly golden brown thanks to the miracle of the oven timer, and as promised, he dances and sings along with every version of Santa Baby and All I Want for Christmas that plays. For my mom's part, she does try to make nice while we all frost the cookies together. Chelsea and my dad come into the kitchen to help with the cookie decorations as well. The moment feels warm and full of Christmas magic. Harlow smiles at me, and I scoop up a fingerful of green frosting, smearing it on his nose. He gasps indignantly, returning the favor with a streak of red frosting across my cheek. Could this be the perfect moment? It's not a movie moment, but my heart feels ready to burst with more love than it can possibly contain as he leans forward and brushes a soft kiss to my lips. I love you, teddy bear. I love you more, Lo. I look into his eyes, my heart flailing wildly against my ribcage. But before I can get the words to form properly on my tongue, Pepper starts to bark, the oven timer blares again, the perfect slow jam version of I'll Be Home for Christmas ends, and the moment is over. Damn. Chapter 6. Harlow. Your bed is really small, I point out again because I feel like it needs to be said as we stand in the doorway of his bedroom, an impending sugar crash from all of the cookies coming in hot. Oh, come on. You know you love to cuddle, he teases, nuzzling my ear and sending a shiver down my spine. I hum in agreement, leaning into him, my cock getting harder. The fact that we're going to be sharing a twin bed for the next few days suddenly feels like a major win. Of course it's too small to share, his mom says, coming up behind us. I jump away from him and try to look innocent. I'm sure she's not under any illusion that we live together in virginal bliss, but it's one of those unspoken rules that you're supposed to pretend when you're around parents. Nope, no idea what your son's cock looks like. Definitely haven't deep-throated him until I thought I might die a happy, happy death. There aren't any other beds, Mom, Teddy points out. She goes to the small hallway closet next door to his bedroom and pulls out a boxed inflatable mattress. I trade looks with Teddy, silently asking him if we're going to make a show of things or just tell his mom that we're more than happy to squeeze together on the tiny bed. If it helps, we'll even go naked. You know, every millimeter of space counts. Thanks, Mom. He takes the box from her and waits as she proceeds to pile a set of bedding on top as well. Sleep well, boys. We both mutter another thanks before disappearing inside Teddy's bedroom. I giggle quietly. Your mom is so sweet, trying to protect your virtue from a harlot like me. He snorts a laugh, pulling the plastic bed out of the box and unrolling it. Come on, let's blow this up really quick so we can get to bed. I plug the electric pump into the wall socket while he attaches the nozzle to the bed. I take advantage of the noise of the motor to tiptoe over to his door and push the lock in, turning back to him with a grin and a suggestive eyebrow waggle. Teddy smiles back at me, slipping his shirt over his head and tossing it in the direction of his suitcase. I lean against the door and appreciate the view for a second. I don't care how many times I've trailed hungry kisses over every inch of his body. I'm still nowhere near bored of looking at him. There's a fading love bite on his chest, just above his left nipple. He gasps so loudly when I bit him that I nearly came on the spot. I grin at the memory, my cock stiffening again now that we're all alone, in teenage Teddy's bedroom. He unbuttons his jeans and slides them off, and I remember the naughty toy I found earlier. That look spells trouble, he says, his voice dipping to a low rumble that very much gives away the fact that he's not at all opposed to my kind of trouble. I quirk one eyebrow at him, slowly unbuttoning my shirt, one at a time, until it's loosely hanging open. His eyes dip down to wander over my exposed chest, just like I did to him. The hunger in his expression lights me up from the inside out. I've never had any self-esteem issues, but damn, Teddy makes me feel like the sexiest man alive. I cross the room and wrap my arms around his neck, resting my forehead against his and nuzzling our noses together. I can taste the sweetness of the cookies and hot cocoa on his breath as it ghosts over my lips. With his arms around my waist and a solid, nearly bare body pressed against mine, the need to win his mom over feels even more important. Teddy is the man of my dreams, the love of my life, entirely too sweet and good for me, and we both know it. The least I can do is be the perfect son-in-law. That and orgasms. Lots of orgasms. He presses his mouth to mine, and I smile against his lips, butterflies assaulting my stomach as we kiss slow and sweet. His erection presses against mine through the layers of clothes still separating us, and I roll my hips, greedily drawing a quiet moan from him. I break the kiss and grin again as I put my hands against his chest and shove him onto the bed. Hold that thought. I turn around to turn off the electric pump and then hurriedly make the bed so it will look like I slept in it. Once that's done, I reach for Teddy's suitcase, assuming that's where he put the flesh jack earlier while I took a shower. I pause before I unzip it, remembering his earlier reaction to me trying to touch his suitcase. Go ahead. The present I was worried about you finding is safely hidden somewhere else. Oh, a scavenger hunt? I forget about the sex toy for a brief moment, my eyes darting around the room for any signs of where he might have hidden my present. If you're looking for the flesh jack, it's in the front zipper pocket, he says, ignoring my comment and drawing my attention back to the matter at hand. Sex. More importantly, sex with Teddy. Honestly, I pity anyone who isn't me. Narcissistic? Maybe at first blush, but I get to put my hands all over this perfect, gorgeous man, and they never will. Sucks to be them. Lube? I ask once I have the toy in hand, the weight of it solid in my hands, my cock already aching eagerly for all of the ways I'm planning to use this. Dig a little deeper. It's in there. I shove my hand deeper, and my fingers brush against the smooth plastic of the lube bottle. I tug it out and turn back to my man, now lying fully naked on the bed, one arm tucked behind his head, his thick, furry thighs spread, his hard, heavy cock stiff against his belly. Jesus, I mutter, my mouth going dry at the sight of him. I can't get over the way you look at me, he says softly, an edge of awe in his voice. I never thought you'd look at me like that. I stride over to the bed, toss the toy and lube onto it, and then crawl on top of him. Bracing my hands on either side of his head, I look down at Teddy, doing my best to let every ounce of love I feel for him shine through my eyes. I was an idiot, Teddy Bear. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what was right in front of me. He slides his hands into my hair and tugs my face toward his. The best things in life are worth waiting for, he murmurs before sealing our lips together in another achingly perfect kiss. Our mouths move against each other slowly, tongues tangling and sliding together. He pushes my shirt off my shoulders and down my arms, and then gets to work on unbuttoning my jeans, carefully stripping me as bare as he is. There's no rush to his movements. The house is quiet outside the door, and we have all the time in the world to love each other. His skin is warm against mine, the scratch and tickle of his body hair lighting up my nerve endings and raising goosebumps all over my body. The hot, hard steel of his erection is pressed to mine, but we don't chase that feeling quite yet, content to get lost in each other's lips for a little while. I fall more in love with you every day, I whisper against the shell of his ear while he dusts kisses over my jawline and down the side of my throat, my pulse fluttering under the brush of his mouth. He groans, sinking his fingers into my back to draw me closer. You're the best thing in my life. I'm so wildly in love with you. His words wrap themselves around my heart, fortifying it. I don't have to be afraid of anything. Not while Teddy is here. Fuck, this is getting sappy. Maybe we should get to the dirty stuff? I suggest, nipping at his earlobe. I am always ready for the dirty stuff. Teddy. Harlow sits back, straddling my lap and reaching for the flesh jack and lube he set on the bed next to me a few minutes ago. My cock rests against my stomach, hard and throbbing, the tip slick with pre-cum. I rest my hands on his thighs, feeling the flex of his lean muscles with every minor movement he makes. His cock bounces as he gives the nearly empty bottle of lube a shake. I've spent hours of my life, Maybe days by this point, memorizing every last inch of his body with my hands and mouth. But that doesn't stop me from lazily caressing him now while I wait for him to get the toy ready. I drag my hands up his stomach until I reach his dusky pink nipples. He gasps when I pinch each one between my thumb and forefinger, his cock jerking hard, a pearl of pre-cum beating on his slit. His eyes flutter closed for a fraction of a second before he looks down at me again, his expression filled with lust and adoration in equal measure. A feeling so supremely sweet and perfect fills my chest, and I'm not sure how it's even possible to love someone this much without it killing me. He rubs his lube-slicked fingers against the puckered hole of the toy and then presses them inside. His cock twitches again, his eyelids drooping and his damp lips parting. "Oh, fuck, that's tight." His voice is low and husky as he fucks 2 fingers in and out, the fleshjack squelching obscenely with each thrust of his fingers. I can't possibly calculate how many hours I spent desperately fucking that thing when I was young and horny, but my body certainly remembers it. The combination of Harlow all around me and the filthy buried memories of too many furtive jerk-off sessions come together to make my cock harder than I would have thought possible. "Think you can keep quiet, teddy bear?" I nod quickly, swallowing hard and sinking my fingers into Harlow's hips. He pulls his fingers out of the toy and drags them slowly along my cock, wiping the excess lube down my shaft. My cock jerks just like his did, my balls already full and aching. When he reaches the base, he wraps his fingers around me to hold my erection straight, lining up the pleated rubbery hole of the toy with the head of my cock. My breathing kicks up faster, my thighs trembling and heat licking at my skin as he engulfs the head of my erection in the tight pressure of the fleshjack. My eyes roll back. Tight doesn't even begin to cover it. The inside of the toy has soft ridges all along every side. The silicone molds itself around the shape of my cock and squeezes me until I can't even think straight. "Fuck, that look on your face is to die for," Harlow whispers, forcing the toy all the way down until every inch of my shaft is being strangled with pleasure so intense I can hardly breathe. He pulls it slowly back up, and a shiver racks my body, my balls constricting so violently I'm sure I'm about to come in an instant. Lowe notices it too, hurrying to wrap his fingers around the base of my cock again, squeezing me until my impending orgasm subsides. I pant out a few harsh breaths, desperately trying to get my body under control, but Harlow doesn't seem in any mood to help with that plan, twisting the toy around when he reaches the head so I can feel every textured ripple gripping the tip of my cock. He reaches between my legs and rolls my throbbing balls in his palm. My hips twitch, my cock desperate to be buried deep inside the toy again, my toes curling against the bed, pleasure shooting through me at the extra half-inch of tightness my thrusting earns me. "This is officially my new favorite thing on the planet," he says with a smile in his voice, taking pity on me and giving me another full stroke. He holds it still again while I squirm and helplessly try to thrust, the hard plastic edge brushing against my balls. Harlow hums thoughtfully, dragging his still lubed finger along the edge of the toy, pulling it up just enough that I can feel the pad of his finger dance along the base of my cock. He makes another thoughtful noise, toying with the stretched rim of the entrance, sending ripples of heat through me. When he carefully eases his finger inside, the pressure around my cock is so deliciously tight, I nearly black out. "Holy fuck, Harlow, oh God," I babble, trembling from head to toe. He thrusts his finger in and out a few times, his eyes glued to my face. He seems to consider the toy for a minute or two before sliding his finger out and slowly pulling the fleshjack off my cock. I groan in protest, reaching for his hand to stop him, but he just chuckles mercilessly. Cruel, cruel man. "Just give me 1 second. I have a plan," he assures me. He brings the toy closer, seeming to study it again while I sit up and brand hungry kisses against his skin, my whole body vibrating with intense need. Need for release, need for Harlow. There we go, he says after a minute, a slurping sound dragging my attention away from the little spot on his clavicle I was sucking on to find the hard outer shell of the flesh jack discarded, the rubbery inside part still clutched in his hand. Harlow shimmies closer until his cock bumps against mine, our bodies pressed together. He grabs the lube again and drizzles some over both our cocks. Then he takes them both in one hand and positions the toy against the heads. If the toy felt good before, it's nothing compared to the feeling of the warm, delubed silicone stretching around our joined cocks. Low, I gasp his name, pressing my face into the crook of his neck and breathing him in as he works his hand up and down our shafts, the squeeze of the toy overwhelming my senses. He muffles his own moans against my shoulder, thrusting into the toy, dragging his cock against mine with every greedy rut. My hands find his ass, and I sink my fingers into the taut muscles that flex with every hump of his hips. Yes, 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 I chant quietly against his skin, feeling the increasing desperation in his movements, his thighs trembling against mine, his breath hitching as it puffs unevenly against my shoulder. I squeeze my eyes closed, heat gathering in the pit of my stomach as my balls draw up tighter. His cock swells against mine in the confined space, his teeth sinking into my flesh to keep from crying out as he starts to pulse against me. The hot, wet flood of his cum inside the toy, coating my cock as he continues to thrust, sends me over the edge. I fuck into the toy, holding him against me as my orgasm crashes over me in waves until our combined cum drips from the toy and both our cocks start to soften. Harlow sags against me, the shape of a smile on his lips, pressing against my skin. He lazily tugs the toy off of us and drops it onto the floor with a soft thud, and then relaxes into me. I run my fingers absently up and down his spine while we both catch our breath, our chests rising and falling together as our breathing slows. Out of the corner of my eye, I catch a flurry outside the window, and I tilt my head to see snow falling, illuminated only by the street lamps below. Look, I murmur, nudging my chin in the direction of the window. He angles his head as well, keeping it rested against my shoulder. It's beautiful, he whispers, shadows playing over his face in a way that makes me ache for him, the same way I always ache for him. It is, I agree, pressing a kiss against his temple. Maybe this is the moment? Sure, it's not a chorus line or skydiving or anything, but a naked proposal doesn't feel entirely wrong either. Before I can make up my mind, Harlow's breathing turns into quiet snores. I sigh inwardly. Maybe I'll find the perfect moment tomorrow. Chapter 7. Harlow. Waking up plastered to a snoring Teddy is basically a lifetime of Christmas wishes come true all at once. There's a slight chill in the bedroom, and the window near the bed is framed with the snow that fell last night and gathered on the sill, but snuggled under the covers, sharing body heat. It's perfectly cozy. I sigh happily, nuzzling my nose into Teddy's armpit and drawing in a deep breath, filling my lungs with his comforting scent. A happy, peaceful feeling washes over me. Okay, so yesterday didn't exactly stick to the script, what with the whole name thing, which I stand by the way, and the burnt cookies, but today is a new day, and I will win his mother over if it kills me. I untangle myself from Teddy and quietly slip out of bed, stumbling over the flesh jack and then kicking it half under the bed. I reach into the pocket of my jeans to make sure the ring I've been carrying around is still safe, and then glance back over my shoulder at a still slumbering Teddy. I roll the smooth silver ring between my fingers. toying with the idea of just waking him up and asking, but I stop myself. I can't ask until his mom likes me. I don't know why, it just doesn't feel right. I'm not going to ask her for his hand in marriage or anything. Too Regency-esque. I'd just like for her not to join Ezra's anti-Harlow club. With the ring still carefully clutched in my fist, I grab some fresh clothes to take to the bathroom with me. I need to clean the crusted cum and lube off my skin from last night, and then it's time for my morning plan. Cookies may have been a bust, but I'm not ready to give up on the idea of impressing her with food. If the whole family wakes up to a big pancake breakfast, surely they'll start to see me in a new light. I can totally cook pancakes. I step into the kitchen and find it empty with the exception of Pepper, who has removed the Santa hat that Chelsea put on her after dinner last night. She has left it in sad, shredded pieces all over the kitchen floor. A sigh of relief slips out of my lips. I was worried for a second that his mom would be a ridiculously early riser and blow my whole plan. It did make your head look a little small, I reason, striding over to Pepper and giving her butt scritches when she turns to offer it to me. Offering your ass to any random guy who walks over? Girl, you have got my number. The dog groans appreciatively, arching her behind up against my hand while I glance over my shoulder to make sure no one heard me making that inappropriate joke to a dog like some kind of weirdo. Luckily, I'm still completely alone. Any tips on winning your mom over? I ask. Pepper whines and turns around to give me a wet, sloppy lick to my cheek. Nope, I don't think that will win me any points with her. But keep brainstorming, and let me know if you come up with anything else. She whines again and then picks up the little white tuft that was previously attached to the tip of the hat and lays down to chew on it. Good talk, I say, standing back up and making my way over to the pantry in search of pancake mix. No such luck, but after a Google search, I am fully prepared to mix these bad boys up from scratch. I don't want to risk waking anyone, so my usual cooking playlist has to remain sadly inside my own head this morning. Not that it stops me from whistling and dancing while I cook. The mixture turns out a bit too soupy at first, so I add some more of the dry ingredients. Of course, then it's too thick, so a little more milk and... Well, let's just say it goes on like that for a few minutes until I've had to add a second bowl to the situation, but the batter finally seems to be the right consistency. We've got this, I assure Pepper, who doesn't seem nearly as invested in this situation as she should be. Okay, so we have our batter. What's next? I glance back at the recipe. Oh, duh. Time to actually cook them. Rummaging through a cupboard full of pots and pans is inherently noisy, but I do my best to keep it quiet while looking for the right-sized pan. While the pancakes cook, I start to set the table. I am absolutely crushing this breakfast thing. Teddy. I'm not sure if it's the distinct smell of something burning or the shrill shriek of the smoke alarm that wakes me, but I'm immediately aware of the fact that Harlow isn't in bed with me. That cannot be a good sign. I leap out of bed and snatch my pants off of the floor where I left them last night, sprinting out of the room and leaving the door swinging open behind me as I race down the stairs toward the kitchen. Shit, shit, shit! Harlow chants, looking frantically around the kitchen while flames dance on the stove. My heart leaps into my throat as I cross the kitchen in large, fast steps, grabbing him around the waist and hefting him away from the fire. My parents had no way of knowing what a walking disaster Harlow is in the kitchen, so there's no fire extinguisher on hand. I do the next best thing, grabbing the nearest pot lid and slamming it over the flame to douse it. "What you cooking?" I ask casually once I'm sure Lo isn't about to die of smoke inhalation or suffering third-degree burns. I thought I'd try to impress everyone with a pancake breakfast. I'm extremely impressed that you somehow managed to make pancakes burst into flames, I tease, turning around to face him. There's a smear of pancake batter on one cheek and an embarrassed, apologetic grimace on his face that's too cute to resist. I open my arms, and he steps into them to hug me. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that happened. I was setting the table, and the next thing I knew, there was a bonfire happening on the stove. I chuckle and kiss the side of his head, looking up to see the rest of the family rushing into the kitchen as well. No doubt also roused by the alarm, but lacking the experience with Harlow to know just how quickly one has to move in these situations. Everything is under control, I assure them. Why was someone trying to burn down my kitchen at the crack of dawn? My mom asks, coming over to inspect the singeing on the wall behind the stove. Sorry, I thought it would be nice to make breakfast for everyone. My mom looks between the mess on the counter and the charred remains of pancakes in the pan, and then back at Harlow. New rule. You're not allowed in the kitchen without supervision. That's fair, Lo agrees. Why don't I help you clean this up, and then we can cook breakfast together, I suggest, and he nods. No, I've got it. My mom makes a shooing motion. Really, Mrs. Mullins, I want to make up for the mess, Harlow insists. My mom sighs, but it looks like she's on the verge of giving in. She got the wrong impression of Harlow, and I know if she just gives him a chance, she'll see the good sides of him just like I do. And after the fire incident, this morning can only improve, right? Pepper's nails click as she prances into the kitchen. I didn't see her leave before, but she must have during the commotion caused by the fire. What do you have? My dad asks, stooping down to see what the dog has clutched between her teeth. I squint at it, trying to figure it out as well. It's something squishy and flesh-colored. She wags her tail and happily drops it into my dad's outstretched hand. Oh my God, Harlow mutters, his face going bright red in an instant. What? Oh shit. I realize what my dad is holding about 5 seconds after Lo does, and approximately 10 seconds before my dad does. He drops it quickly, and Pepper barks happily, lunging to pick it back up like it's part of a new game. What is that? Chelsea asks. Please kill me, Harlow groans, while I dart forward and wrestle the squishy inner part of the flesh jack that we left on the floor last night out of the dog's mouth. Good luck making a Christmas song out of this, am I right? I joke, holding the toy behind my back as I inch my way out of the kitchen so I can get rid of the toy and then go find a nice building to fling myself off of. If the holidays keep going this way, I'm never going to manage the perfect movie moment proposal. Chapter 8. Teddy. It's not until the afternoon that I manage to slip away for a few minutes to call Marnie again. Hey, I whisper, closing my bedroom door quietly behind me. It's Teddy, she says with just a hint of playful teasing in her voice. I smile and exhale an amused breath through my nose. It is Teddy. How are things going with the family? I heard Lo tried to burn down the kitchen this morning. I plop down on the edge of my bed, slipping my free hand into my pocket to finger the ring, a smile playing on the edges of my lips. He did, I confirm. Classic Lo. My mom wasn't hugely amused, but, I bet. You should have just popped the question right then and there. It would have been memorable, at least. Oh my God, can you imagine? He never would have let me live that down if I proposed in a smoke-filled kitchen with my mom glaring at us. Oh, and then there was the sex toy. He told you about the sex toy, right? Marnie is now laughing so hard on the other end of the phone that she can't seem to catch her breath. Objectively speaking, it was kind of funny. Personally speaking, I'm still considering moving to China with Harlow and waiting for both my parents to develop dementia before returning home. Sex toy aside, I think you would have loved it anyway, she insists, once she manages to stop cackling. Come on, this is Harlow we're talking about. The proposal needs to be special, epic, cinematic. The pressure of the whole thing tightens my chest and makes me lightheaded. It took me long enough to win him over to begin with. What if I can never come up with a good enough proposal for him to say yes? I think that was old Harlow. He's changed a lot since the two of you got together, she argues, and I snort in disagreement. Not a lot. I mean, he's still got his head in the clouds a bit, and obviously his cooking hasn't improved, Marnie concedes. But he loves you like crazy. I think you could ask him in a porta-potty and he'd say yes. I don't know. I rub my hand up and down the back of my neck. The doorknob rattles, and I leap off the bed. Shit, gotta go, I say quickly in a hushed voice before ending the call and shoving my phone into my pocket. I open the door, the lock clicking as I turn the knob, but it's not Harlow on the other side. It's my mom. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, she says, looking past me into the room at the messily made blow-up mattress and then to my bed. Wow, even the embarrassing sex toy incident hasn't stopped her from worrying about whether we're sharing a bed or not. Sure, we defiled a flesh jack, but don't worry, he slept in his own bed after. No, I just had a work call to make, I lie. What's up? I need to run out to the mall for a few last-minute things. I thought you might want to join me. Harlow can come too. She adds the last part through a forced smile like she's been sucking on a lemon. I'm not sure where he disappeared to. Give me a second to find him. Last I checked, he was with Chelsea. Great, let me go ask him. I slip past her, pulling the door closed behind me before heading down the hallway to my sister's room. I pause just outside the door, the sound of laughter filtering through it. Oh, God, no, that's too much, Chelsea says. Trust me, you're going to look amazing. I stand and listen for a minute while she peppers him with questions about famous people he's met, and he launches into full Hollywood mode, gossiping his little heart out. I smile, leaning against the wall. Fine, my mom isn't crazy about him. Who cares? He's still mine, and I'm still his. I wonder if Marnie's right. Could I be overthinking this proposal? I finally knock on the door, and my sister calls out for me to come in. I find them sitting on her bed with what appears to be an entire cosmetic store worth of makeup spread out between them, Harlow carefully applying eyeshadow to her eyes. I know, I'm a total gay stereotype right now, but we're bonding, he says with a grin. I can see that. I just wanted to let you know my mom is running to the mall. Do you want to go and pick out some clothes until we get your bag? His face lights up, but then he looks back at Chelsea's half-made-up face and deflates. You can go, she says. But we were having fun. I haven't even told you yet about the time that NPH and his husband totally came on to me. I snort a laugh. That's definitely not what happened, but I'm not going to ruin his story. It's his favorite. Tell you what, I can go and grab some stuff. I'll just grab the tightest, most expensive jeans I see, and we should be good, right? He sticks his tongue out at me. Very mature. You don't have to worry about it. Go spend time with your mom. We'll be fine here. I leave them to it. The mall is as packed as you'd expect it to be just days before Christmas. I thought everyone shopped online now. I guess the news of Amazon's existence hasn't quite reached rural Minnesota. Or maybe they just really love walking a mile in the snow after parking their car. Who knows? Christmas music plays through the overhead speakers, a low hum of chatter and footsteps filling the air, along with the excited shouts and terrified cries of children meeting the mall Santa for the first time. I tag along with my mom while she waffles over several possible gifts for my dad, and I grab a couple of pairs of jeans for Harlow with designer names I recognize from his closet. I also pick up a pair of the ugliest Christmas sweaters I've ever seen, which I'm sure he'll get a kick out of. You're serious about him, then? My mom asks as we leave the store with the ugly sweaters and a pack of batteries because, yes, the sweaters require batteries. We bought a house together, I remind her. I'm planning to propose to him. As soon as I figure out a plan, of course. Do you have a ring? She seems marginally warmer to the idea now than she was before, so I'll take that as a win. I stop, moving over to the side so we're not directly in the flow of foot traffic, and reach into my pocket for the ring. An anxious flutter comes over me as she takes it and inspects it. Is it good enough? I'm not exactly a ring expert, but it felt like Harlow when I saw it. It's lovely. A wistful smile takes over her face as she hands the ring back. I'm sorry I've been cold. He's just not what I was expecting. What were you expecting? I can't for the life of me imagine any better match for me than he is, but I'm curious to know what she had in mind. I don't know. Someone more down to earth, I guess. Someone with Midwestern roots, maybe. It hits me for the first time what she's really unhappy about. I step closer and put an arm around her. If I promise to come visit more, will you give Harlow a fair chance? I think I can do that, she agrees, hugging me back. Now, what do you say to some Cinnabon before we head back to the house? I grin. You're on. Harlow. I'm not allowed anywhere near the kitchen at dinner time. My pouting does nothing to sway his mother. When dinner is finished, it's snowing again, and Teddy suggests the two of us bundle up and take a walk. I borrow a coat and boots from his dad, and mittens from his sister so I can stay warm. I feel like that kid in A Christmas Story, I complain, pushing the scarf down so I can breathe. But you won't freeze, and that's what matters, Teddy points out. As soon as we open the door, falling snow swirls around us in an icy ballet. I have to admit, it is beautiful, even if my face does immediately go numb. Teddy reaches for my hand, clumsily clasping our mittens together as he tugs me out into the winter wonderland. With the proper coat and boots, the cold isn't quite so bad after the first minute or so. Or maybe that's just the impending hypothermia talking. Come on, the next street over always has the best Christmas lights. He pulls me along, excitement radiating off him in the most infectious way. The blanket of pristine snow crunches under our boots. It surrounds us and makes the world feel just a little softer for a few minutes. Teddy stoops down, letting go of my hand so he can come scoop some together. I swear to Keanu that if you throw a snowball at me, I will break up with you, I threaten. He turns a calculated grin in my direction, like he's trying to decide if I'm bluffing or not. When he doesn't put the snowball back down, I figure I'd better arm myself as well. He made it look easy enough, but my own handful of snow doesn't seem to want to come together in the same perfect way Teddy's did. I must be missing some vital piece of my genetic code as a Southerner that would allow me to make a proper snowball. I squeal when he launches his attack, the snow bursting against my coat, flecks of it reaching my face thanks to the explosion. With an indignant noise, I toss my own snowball in his direction, missing him by an inch as he dodges out of the way. I don't waste any time making a second snowball, and then the battle is on, the two of us flinging snow at each other until I give up on shaping them at all and simply tackle Teddy into the snow, our laughter echoing through the otherwise quiet residential streets. His lips are icy when they find mine, both our mouths thawing as we sink into the kiss. I'm really glad you agreed to come for Christmas, he says, nuzzling his nose against mine. Me too. With a truce made, we get back to our feet and brush the snow off of ourselves, and then continue on to admire the Christmas lights. He's right. There seems to be some sort of massive competition raging on this street, and they're all winning. Colorful lights twinkle from every house, each one more brightly lit than the last. We take our time enjoying the walk around the block, talking about how we'll decorate our own house next year. Knowing without a doubt that we'll have a next year together is so much better than any of the movie moments I used to wish for, because it's real, and it's Teddy. We're in sight of his house again, already discussing the giant mug of hot cocoa he's going to make me as soon as we're inside, when the soft sound of meowing reaches my ears. Did you hear that? I ask, tightening my grip on Teddy's hand to get him to stop and cocking my head to one side. Is that a cat? I peer around the trash cans at the end of the driveway, and sure enough, there's a small shivering kitten huddled there. Oh my God, I gasp, hurrying to pick it up. It eagerly scrambles into my arms, burrowing itself as close to my puffy coat as it can manage. Do you think it belongs to someone? I don't think so. Look how skinny it is. He gently pats the kitten's head with his mitten-clad hand. Let's take it inside to warm up, I suggest, and Teddy nods. Look at us having our very own Christmas miracle, I coo at the kitten as we head inside together. Chapter 9. Harlow. I toss and turn, Visions of charred pancakes and Teddy's parents' disapproving faces dancing through my mind. It doesn't help that Teddy's giant body is taking up the entire bed, and I'm getting a cramp trying to keep my leg from falling over the side. I sit up with a huff, shivering in the cool room without the help of Teddy's body heat and the big fluffy comforters to keep me warm. Pineapple, which is the name we settled on for the kitten after much debate, wakes up from her makeshift bed with a little mew, stretching and yawning, and then scampering over to boop her head against my shin. "Come here, cutie," I whisper, scooping her up and slipping out of bed. After drying her off and feeding her earlier, she became livelier and extremely affectionate almost instantly. Teddy grunts in his sleep and rolls over, taking the comforters with him until he's all wrapped up like a cozy burrito. My stomach growls at the thought of burritos, and the kitten meows again, clearly in agreement that a midnight snack is in order. I snag Teddy's hoodie from the desk chair it's draped over, and I tug it on, transferring the kitten from one hand to the other as I pull it over my head, and then I creep out of the room, carefully closing the door behind me with a soft click. I don't want to wake anyone, so I navigate through the house with only the light coming through the windows. I had no idea how bright it would be with a full moon reflecting off the snow. It's kind of beautiful, actually. I manage to make it to the kitchen without bumping into anything or waking anyone, and I decide it's probably safe to switch on the dim breakfast nook light. Pineapple meows when I set her down, not at all a fan of having her claws disengaged from the hoodie. She paces on the counter until I grab a small saucer from the cupboard and open the refrigerator to get a little milk. I know kittens aren't really supposed to have cow's milk, but I figure a tiny bit won't hurt her. She starts to lap it up as soon as she realizes what it is, purring happily. I smile and gently stroke along her back. I hope Eileen likes her when we get home. If not, I'll just have to sit my two girls down and have a talk with them about sibling relationships. Not that I know much about siblings, but I'm sure I can Google some tips. With the kitten happy, I return to the refrigerator and pull out the leftover ham from dinner to make a sandwich. "Please tell me you're not planning to cook that." I startle at the sound of Teddy's mom's voice, fumbling the Tupperware full of ham and watching in horror as it tumbles to the floor. I'm sure 9 out of 10 times in situations like these, the Tupperware simply bounces, maybe the lid pops off, but obviously, with the way this week has gone, this is more of a 10th time scenario. The plastic shatters in a way I've never seen plastic shatter, fracturing into a million pieces and scattering all over the floor, along with greasy chunks of ham. Fan-fucking-tastic. So much for my sandwich. I'd lament the fact that I'm sure Mrs. Mullins is judging the hell out of me right now, but honestly, I'm over it. I'd love for her to like me, but some things are simply out of a person's control. I can't reverse gravity or make the sun rise in the west, and I sure as hell can't make Teddy's parents like me. "I was going to make a sandwich," I mutter in response to her question, dropping to my knees with a sigh to start cleaning up the mess. To my surprise, Mrs. Mullins rounds the corner with a roll of paper towel and starts scooping up plastic-riddled ham chunks right beside me. "That's what I came down here for, too," she admits. Great. Not only did I make a mess, but I robbed her of the late-night snack she was looking forward to. Smooth, Lo. Really smooth. "Sorry," I mutter, gathering a handful and carrying it over to the garbage can. "It's just ham, honey," she says, more gently than I'm expecting. We finish cleaning up in silence, and when we stand up, Pineapple is finished with her milk. I grab her saucer and wash it off, while I try to figure out what, if anything, I should say to the perky, intimidating woman whose night I just ruined. "How about some ice cream?" she suggests, shocking me for a second time within a matter of minutes. "Sure," I agree. She fishes 2 spoons out of the nearest drawer and then opens the freezer and grabs the carton that's in the door. I follow her to the table in the breakfast nook and claim a chair opposite from hers, setting Pineapple down on the floor next to me. She meows a few times, claws at my pajama pants, and then curls up to go to sleep. "Phil's mother hated me," she says conversationally, digging her spoon into the ice cream and then pushing the carton in my direction. I raise both eyebrows at her, trying not to laugh. Why? I eye the perfectly put-together woman. Even in her bathrobe in the middle of the night, she looks like the picture of the ideal wife and mother. I expect she was threatened by me. This time I can't stop the chuckle that forces its way from my throat, a spoonful of ice cream halfway to my mouth. I can see that. Are you saying I'm intimidating? No. I just meant, I'm teasing you. Relax. For the first time this week, her mouth curves into a smile that looks so much like Teddy's, I can't help but thaw toward her. I thought she was a bitch. I always promised myself that when my own kids found who they wanted to spend their lives with, that I'd be different. I nod, not offering my opinion on the matter. I know a trap when I see one, thank you very much. It turns out that it's a little harder than I thought not to go all mama bear when you see the child you've thought of nonstop for 35 years picking a life partner. And I suppose I always hoped Teddy would eventually get the travel bug out of his system and move back home. Obviously, with your job in LA, that's never going to happen. I swallow hard, the bite of ice cream I just took sliding down my throat and leaving a frozen trail in its wake. I love him, I tell her, even though I'm sure it's obvious. I know. For what it's worth, you seem like a good match for him. I'll try not to be such a massive bitch next time you two come to visit, if you hold him to his promise to visit more. I shovel another spoonful of ice cream into my mouth. Deal. I agree with a smile. The two of us sit and talk a while longer. She doesn't pull out old photo albums or declare me to be the son she's always dreamed of or anything, but it's a start. When the carton of ice cream is empty, she throws it away, and I scoop Pineapple off the floor, doing my best not to wake her from her very peaceful slumber. To my surprise, Teddy's mom pulls me in for a hug. Good night. Good night, I reply, returning her hug with my free arm. I creep back up the stairs as quietly as possible so I don't wake anyone else in the house, smiling to myself the whole way. Things may have started out rocky, but I'm kind of nailing this whole meeting the parents at Christmas thing. Teddy is still snoring soundly when I slip back into the room. Pineapple wakes up just long enough to take a swat at me for daring to set her down in her makeshift cat bed, and then curls up in a ball and purrs herself back to sleep. I slip Teddy's hoodie over my head, and in the silence of the night, I hear the faint sound of something hitting the wood floor. I toss the hoodie aside and bend down to find out what fell out of the pocket. It sounded like a coin or something, but who the hell carries around change anymore? It takes me several seconds of groping around the dark floor before my fingers find the cool metal of the mystery object. My heart gives a jolt at the familiar and undeniable shape of a ring. Did he find the one I've been carrying around, planning to give to him? Still doing my best to stay quiet, I shuffle over to the jeans I was wearing earlier, reaching into the front pocket while I clutch the ring tightly in the other, the shape of it imprinting itself into the palm of my hand. When my fingertips brush against the ring still safely stashed inside my jeans, my heart squeezes and then gives several flips while my hands tremble so badly I nearly drop both rings again. If the ring in Teddy's pocket isn't the same ring I brought here, it must be. I don't even give the thought a chance to fully form. I won't be able to stand it if I let myself think something like that and it turns out to be wrong. But I sure as hell can't crawl back into bed and go back to sleep until I know if I'm right or not about the thing I'm not going to let myself think. With a ring in each hand, I crawl onto the bed, perching myself on my knees next to Teddy's sleeping form. I'm not sure if there's an appropriate way to wake someone up and ask about the possible engagement ring you found in their pocket. And since there's no appropriate way, and I'm certain I haven't seen this in any movie, I have no template whatsoever for my behavior. I decide to just wing it. Teddy. I shake his head, and he grunts in his sleep. Teddy. I jostle him again, impatience squirming in my stomach and prickling along my skin. This time his eyes drift open slowly, confusion furrowing his brow. It's amazing how bright the moon actually is reflecting off the snow. I can see every line of his face, every shadow, every gorgeous, perfect inch. I want to wake up with him every single day for the rest of my life. I want to tell him I found the ring and ask what it's for. I thrust the ring at him, and some of his sleepy, foggy expression fades. "Ask me to marry you," I say instead. "Lo, what?" he starts to ask in a raspy, sleep-rough voice as he slowly pushes himself into a seated position, letting the comforter pool around his waist and legs, his bare torso on full display. I've touched and kissed every inch of him, but I'm still mesmerized by the sight of his broad, hairy chest. "Ask me to marry you," I say again, this time turning his hand over and placing the ring firmly in his palm. "You found the ring?" He finally seems to be piecing things together, and I'm very happy for him and all, but I need him to ask so I can answer. I nod, and Teddy continues. "I've been trying to come up with the perfect proposal, something epic and romantic and memorable." I shift on my knees, leaning in closer, and then dart my tongue out to wet my lips. "Just ask, Teddy Bear," I insist for the third time. I'm not above begging. Not for this, anyway. He looks down at the ring in his hand, an array of emotions flashing across his face. I don't know what's holding him back, but I've reached the limit of my patience. I take the ring I brought and hold it between my thumb and forefinger, thrusting it out right in front of his face. Sometimes, when you want something done, you just have to do it yourself. He looks up, and his lips part in surprise. "Fucking marry me, Teddy, before I lose my mind?" My voice cracks in the middle, and I let out a sound that's somewhere between laughter and a sob. Technically, I didn't actually ask him to marry me, but fuck, I hope he knows what I mean, because I don't think I can manage a more eloquent proposal at 3 a.m. A slow smile spreads over his lips, and he holds the other ring out to me. "Only if you fucking marry me first," he teases, and I bobble my head so fast I get dizzy. "Yes, so much yes. All the yeses!" I snatch the ring from him and thrust the other at him. He makes a similar laughing but almost crying sound as we slip the rings onto our left ring fingers simultaneously. Teddy. As soon as the ring slips into place on Harlow's finger, it feels like everything is exactly right in the universe. I pull him into my arms and find his lips with mine. "Do you still want to get married in a field in Georgia?" I ask, between slow, deep kisses, with Harlow straddling me, the weight of his body coaxing my cock to rise. He nods, his forehead bumping against mine before he goes in for another kiss. "Just the two of us, in a field filled with wildflowers," he answers. "Unless you want a different kind of wedding, because honestly, Teddy Bear, I'd marry you anywhere." "The wildflowers sound perfect." I can picture it easily, and better yet, unlike when he originally told me the idea all those months ago, I'm the man standing across from Harlow, promising him forever. He grabs me and hauls me against him, sighing happily into his mouth at the feeling of our bare skin sliding against each other. Lo drags his fingers through my hair and slips his tongue between my lips. I tighten my arms around his middle, feeling the answering weight of his arousal against mine. The heat between us builds languidly as we take our time undressing, moving against each other in familiar ways, our kisses slow as syrup and just as sweet. "Can we do it in the spring? I know it's soon, but I don't want to wait," he murmurs against my lips. I don't want to wait either. I run my hands up the bare expanse of his back, the feeling of his body as familiar as my own, but still just as thrilling as the first time I touched him. Lo gropes for the bottle of lube I hastily stuffed into the nightstand after last night, pulling it out and coating my cock. I press my face into the crook of his neck, breathing in his intoxicating scent as I muffle my moans, his hand moving lazily up and down my slicked shaft, sending ripples of heat down my spine. His lips find mine again as he wiggles into position with my cock against his hole, sinking down breathtakingly slow until I'm buried to the hilt inside him. Even then, there's no urgency in the way he rocks his hips, throwing his head back, the moonlight bathing his skin. I kiss and nibble at the long column of his throat, whispering words of love to him even as my balls start to tighten and my breath catches in my chest. I drag my nose along his clavicle and up the same trail my lips just traveled, feeling the quickening of his pulse and the flutter of his throat. Teddy, he gasps my name, rolling his hips to take my cock inside of him over and over, his smooth inner muscles tightening and quivering around my length with each thrust. Teddy, he pants again. I love you, Harlow. I breathe against the flutter of his pulse point. His whole body trembles in my arms, and he bites back a cry, his cum splashing against my belly as he lets go. I hold him tighter, thrusting up into him as I press my lips to his again, swallowing his quiet moans and feeding him my own as I fill him with my release. Our orgasms seem to go on and on, the two of us rocking against each other until we're both limp and breathless, goosebumps on our skin from the cooling sweat combined with a slight chill in the bedroom, his cum drying on my belly. I maneuver him next to me, pulling the cover over us as he fits himself comfortably into my arms. Just think, once we're married, we can do that every night, Harlow says sleepily. We already do that every night, love, I point out with amusement. Yeah, but it will be married sex. It's very different, you'll see. I chuckle softly and brush a kiss against the top of his head. Looking forward to it. I find his hand and bring it to my lips, kissing the ring that's now exactly where it belongs on his finger. This really did turn out to be the best Christmas ever. Chapter 10. Harlow. The ring Teddy got for me looks even more perfect in the pale light of the morning than it did last night in the dark, and that's saying something. It's not the tiny diamond studded around the rose gold surface that makes it so beautiful. It's the fact that Teddy gave it to me. My heart dances wildly, a love-drunk feeling filling me until I'm not sure I'll be able to contain it. Teddy wants to marry me. He wants to stand up in front of our friends and family and tell them he plans to keep me forever, and then he wants to spend the rest of our lives driving each other crazy in all the best ways. I feel so stupid that it took me so long to realize that's all I ever really wanted. I turn my head and smile at Teddy, his face still slack with sleep, a little wrinkle between his eyebrows that I soothe with a kiss that causes his eyes to flutter open. I love that first moment in the morning when the fog slowly lifts from his eyes, and in an instant he remembers I'm right here and falls in love with me all over again. His lips tilt up in a sleepy smile, and he tightens his arms around me. Morning, fiancé. A giddy sound bubbles up in my throat, and the only thing I can do is lean in and kiss him until we're both breathless, and even that isn't enough. Lucky for me, it never has to be. We have to go get your mom from the airport, he murmurs against my lips, and I sigh. You really need to work on your dirty talk, teddy bear. He chuckles and gives me one more quick kiss before slipping out of bed. Come on, we can get there early and check to see if they have your suitcase yet. Oh, yes, I agree, scrambling out of bed after him. If it's still missing, I won't have Teddy's present to give him tomorrow morning. We get dressed, and Teddy borrows the van from his mom. She gives me a brief, friendly smile, which I return. I guess bonding over late-night ice cream was just what we needed. Drive carefully. The roads are still icy, she advises. Yes, Mom, Teddy replies, giving her a quick kiss on the cheek. As soon as we get in the van, I tune the radio to a Christmas station and immediately start to sing along with It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. My voice nowhere near as swoony as Michael Bublé's, but hey, I put a lot of heart into it. I catch indulgent smiles from Teddy as he drives, the ring on his finger making me feel happy all over again every time I see it. The airport is an absolute madhouse when we get there. Since we have to go in and ask about my bag, we look for a parking spot in the short-term lot, and then fight our way through the massive crowds of people rushing to catch planes to wherever they're going for the holidays. I do a little happy dance when the woman behind the counter, who is absolutely rocking her elf hat, by the way, tells me they do, in fact, have my suitcase. "It's a Christmas miracle," I declare when she hands it to me. "I thought pineapple was our Christmas miracle," Teddy points out with amusement. "We were very good this year. I don't think 2 Christmas miracles are out of the question." Of course. He puts an arm around my shoulders, and we go to wait for my mom. It's not long before I spot her, dressed in a charmingly terrible Christmas sweater with a rosy-cheeked Santa adorning the front, big dangly Christmas tree earrings hanging from both of her ears. As soon as she reaches us, Teddy takes her bag from her, and I give her a big hug. "I'm so glad you're here." She squeezes me back even more tightly. "How could I turn down Christmas in an actual winter wonderland?" "Plus, I'm here," I remind her. "Yes, sweetie, but snow," she reasons teasingly. I huff, and she kisses my cheek, leaving it sticky with her lipstick. "Come on, let's go look at the snow then. But I'm warning you, it's only charming for like 1 minute before you turn into a giant icicle." Teddy. Harlow's mom isn't dressed any more appropriately for the weather than he was, so I end up giving her my coat on our way to the car. It's a slow drive home, thanks to the slick roads, but we make it in one piece. As we make our way up the walkway to the front door of the house, Lo grabs my hand tightly, a nervous look flashing over his face. "What if they don't like each other?" he whispers. "It'll be fine," I promise him. My mom greets us at the front door, ushering Harlow's mother inside. It turns out there was no need for him to worry at all. The two of them hit it off instantly. "I'm just working on getting the turkey in the oven so it will be ready in time for dinner," my mom explains once we all get our snowy shoes off. "Is there anything I can do to help?" his mom offers. "I don't know. Did your son get his culinary skills from you?" Harlow's mom laughs. "Lord, no, honey. I tried to teach the boy, but when my insurance company told me they wouldn't cover another wallpapering of the kitchen, I gave up." They cackle together happily, the two of them disappearing into the kitchen without a backward glance. Apparently, ragging on my cooking skills brings all people together. I chuckle and kiss him. It's universal, I agree. "Christmas vacation is starting," my sister calls from the living room. "Ooh, let's go watch," Harlow says happily, grabbing my hand to pull me into the living room. Chelsea and my dad are on the couch, sharing a large blanket with Pineapple curled up between them. As soon as we enter the room, the kitten wakes up and meows to be picked up by Harlow. He scoops her up while I get comfortable in the large recliner, and then he comes over and climbs onto my lap, the three of us getting nice and cozy to watch the disastrous Griswold Christmas on the television, the lights of the Christmas tree twinkling in my periphery. By the time we all sit down to dinner together several hours later, our moms are best friends, trading recipes and discussing gardening. Harlow and I share a smile, and then he glances at his ring and then back at me with a question in his eyes. "Do we want to tell everyone?" I shrug. No time like the present. Once everyone is finished piling their plates high with delicious-smelling food, I clear my throat. "We're so happy that our two families were able to come together this holiday," I say, and a murmur of agreement goes around the table. And on that note, Lo and I have an announcement. "We're engaged," he blurts excitedly. His mom jumps up and rounds the table to give us both a hug. "Can I be in the wedding party?" Chelsea asks. "We're keeping things simple, so I'm not sure if we'll have a wedding party, but if it's okay with your mom, maybe I'll fly you out to LA one weekend, and you, me, and my best friend Marnie can go shopping for my tux and fabulous dresses for you two." "Oh, Mom, can I?" She bounces in her seat. His mom's face twitches, but after a second, she nods. "I think that will probably be fine." After a few minutes, the excitement dies down, and we all dig into our meal. Harlow slips little bites of turkey to pineapple under the table when he doesn't think anyone is looking, everyone eating and drinking and talking like the big happy family we are. It's perfect. Chapter 11. Harlow. Wake up, wake up, wake up! I shake Teddy awake impatiently at the first hint of morning light. What time is it? He mumbles groggily. Who cares? It's Christmas morning. I scramble out of bed to dig his present out of my suitcase and then dive back under the covers where it's warm. He laughs, slowly waking up and shuffling into a sitting position with his back against the headboard. His hair is sticking up in all directions, his bare chest almost enough to distract me for a few minutes, but presents. It's not much, I warn as he carefully tears into the wrapping paper. I spent a lot on the ring. I don't need much, he assures me, leaning over and kissing me before setting the torn wrapping paper aside and easing open the lid on the little black box. It's a nice tie clip that I saw and thought of him, and it's clipped around my very bad attempt at a poem. He sets the clip aside and unfolds the paper, smiling as he reads it to himself. There once was a man who loved meet cutes, but everyone he tried was a crapshoot. He should have known that love had already grown. Better late than never to start playing his best friend's skin flute. It's horrible. I'm sorry. I grimace. It's really bad. He agrees with a laugh. Skin flute? Really? You have no idea how long I tried to think up a better rhyme than that. I shake my head, and we both laugh. I love it, Lo. Thank you. My pleasure, Teddy Bear. I figured I owed you one after all the poems you wrote for me. You don't owe me anything, Lo. Give and take, baby. That's what forever is about. He secures the tie clip around the poem again, sets it on the nightstand for safekeeping, and then pulls out his phone. Your present was too big to bring, so I have a picture. I scoot closer, and he pulls up a photo of my home office. Sitting on the desk, next to my computer, is a teal-blue 1970s Console 231 typewriter. Is this for real? I ask. I've wanted one for ages, but they're not easy to find. Not to mention, it always felt like an impractical thing to buy for myself. I know you've wanted one, but since it's not the kind of thing you'd write on all the time, you couldn't justify buying it, which is what made it the perfect gift. This way, when you need that extra bit of whimsy to spark your creativity, you'll have this. I love it. Thank you so much. I tackle him with a kiss, the two of us sinking back into the warmth of the bed in each other's mouths for a while, trading quiet words and smiles in between languid kisses until we hear the rest of the family start to stir. We get dressed, and I help Teddy carry all of the family Christmas presents downstairs. His mom makes hot cocoa, and we all gather in front of the tree to open gifts. Pineapple plays with every stray bit of wrapping paper she can get her paws on, and a fire roars in the fireplace, giving the right ambience to the picture-perfect Christmas morning. So, do you have any thoughts on the wedding yet? Teddy's mom asks after all of the presents have been opened, a sea of wrapping paper laying in tatters all around us. Yeah, actually. We talked about keeping it really simple. Just a field in Georgia. Close friends and family. That's about it. I toss an unsure smile in Teddy's direction. Is his mom going to be disappointed? Is she hoping for a big wedding? She's quiet for several seconds, a look of surprise crossing her face before she smiles. That sounds absolutely perfect. I let out a relieved breath and return her grin. As long as I get 1,000,000 more Christmases with Teddy at my side, that's all I really care about, I say, reaching over to thread my fingers between his. 1,000,000 sounds reasonable, he agrees with a smile, leaning over to press a chocolate-flavored kiss to my lips. Eat your heart out, Hallmark. We totally nailed this Christmas. This has been Operation Meet the Parents. Operation HEA Book 2. Written by K.M. Neuhold. Narrated by Nick J. Russo. Copyright 2021 by Kylene M. Neuhold. Production copyright by Kylene M. Neuhold.
Audible hopes you have enjoyed this program.